Welcome everyone. This is my third live stream of the day, and today I have a very special guest, Felipe Cruz. I don't know if I pronounced it well, and we will talk about dev environments. He is a software engineer at Docker. I let him to introduce himself, of course. And what we will do today, we will make a demo, so we'll explain you how dev environment works. Felipe, how are you?
Hi, Francesco. Thank you very much for having me here. It's a pleasure, and I'm very, very happy. Yeah.
Yeah, and you look very natural on camera, so please give us your link of all your live streams. Do you do live streams? Or no? Not yet.
No, not yet, not yet. I'm not that much on YouTube and live streams. Yeah.
Nice, but you are talented. I see a future. So no, it's
let's
great.
see. This is my first one, so let's see how it goes. Maybe in the future we can do more.
For sure. I will feel offended if you don't invite me in that case, of course. So, okay, Felipe, so please, let's talk a little bit about yourself, and then we will jump into the demo, of course. Hi, everyone. Pradumna. There we go. Please introduce
Hi,
yourself.
everyone. Yeah, my name is Felipe. I work in Docker. I'm living in Malaga, and I have been working at Docker for just 3 months. And it's been quite a journey already. It's been an amazing experience. I started my career in software engineering in Manchester in the UK, and then I moved back to Spain just to settle down where I was born. So I have been doing software engineering much of the time. I'm also moving to a more DevOps role, especially with Kubernetes. That's something that has been quite of my interest. OpenShift as well. But software development is pretty much what I really like to do the most, because it allows me to build stuff and see how everything works behind the scenes. So
I think that we will be really good friends in real life. I'm sure about that, because we are on the same boat. If you ask me to design something, I don't know you, but for me, it's the hardest task that you can give me. If you ask me to configure some Kubernetes cluster, it's I can do this even we're relaxing after dinner. So yes. So before, are you done? I would like to add something about yourself, or can we go? Hey, there we go. Hello, everybody. Hey, Wilmer Morales. There we go. Okay, so let me share my screen because I want to explain you what we will do today. So, wow, can I do this? I forgot. Okay, so I work for a company called Tiny Stacks, settled in San Francisco, and we are working hard. By the way, the team is also by some former AWS employees. They've worked there for like 6 or 7 years. So the goal of Tiny Stacks is to help you to deploy Stack, of course, or stages on AWS. So it would help you if you don't have a PhD on AWS to deploy your application. So it will help you if you want to deploy on AWS, but you're not an expert. And I leave a link in the description. And why am I saying this? Because, for example, we are already working. Can you see here? Maybe a little bit bigger. Can you see? I hope so. And for example, we are working on different stages. So usually when you work on your code, you have different stages. So you have, for example, the dev stage, the test one, and the production one. For example, here you can see the development one and the production one. Why do we have different stages? Because we have different, for example, configuration, because a developer can have a configuration on their machine, and in production, of course, you have a total different configuration. This is true both if you are just a small team, but this is especially true if you are a big team. I remember when I was working for the European Space Agency, of course, I didn't have the credential. Maybe I knew it there, but I was not using the official credential of the official production environment in my local development. That would have been a very bad procedure. Okay, yes. So if you want, you can take a look at this. We are still working on these features, and I'll leave you the link. And yes, so we are trying basically to help, especially teams who in developing their software, and we support database integration, different languages. We are not supporting .NET yet, but we support Express, Django, Flask, and soon we'll also support Java. And there we go. So this is why I asked, I wanted an expert on my YouTube channel. Thank you, Felipe, to come here today. And so, before maybe going on the actual demo, what is the problem of the dev environments? And what can we say about this? What's the problem that people have or had in the past?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we have been using containers for building, sharing, running applications. And this is great. We can deploy apps to pretty much any cloud on premises using containers. But if you think about development, every single developer has its own tooling. They have specific versions of NPM, Node, you name it. And when we develop, depending on the project, we need to use one kind of tool or the other. So the idea behind the concept of development environment is to have this kind of box where we throw all the tooling that we need to develop the application. This way, we can provide this environment to everyone in the team so that they can use it to develop without having to deal with dependencies or some other versions that are not in sync or try out new things, for example. That could be one of the main points. But if you also think about how long it takes for someone that joins a company to get started, because they need to, of course, download Visual Studio Code and a lot of more things, it takes time. Dev environments tries also to solve this problem where we put everything inside an image and then we run this as a container, so we don't have to install any tools. That will be the idea behind it.
Yeah, for example, I can talk about my personal experience, because we always we are talking about something that maybe we have experience on our skin. And when I was starting to work for a peer space agency, also it depends on the size of the project. So if the project is huge, they give me like a total free clean machine. So you had to install, like, I think I passed 1 week or even 2 weeks maybe to install all the dependencies. It was always broken. So it was about to start. Okay, I was ready to that, but maybe we can try to avoid that. So I was happy, to be honest, to be hired there. But I said, okay, so I give my 2 weeks of my time, of my life, to understand how things work. I take a lot of handwritten notes, which is very like a prehistoric thing. But so yes. So so what's the problem? So let's start from the problem, and then we try to give a solution. So what's the problem if we don't use the dev environment at all? We think it can be also someone in the audience. By the way, of course, feel free to make any questions. We are doing these live streams, so you can jump and make questions. And also because I don't want to edit, but that's another story. So so what's how is the development experience without and then with dev environments?
Yeah, I think one of the most common cases that I have come across is when you are working in some code base, you're coding, you have your own branch where you're making a lot of changes, and then someone comes over and tells you, hey, do you mind to try out my PR? Can you check it out in your computer and see and run it? See if that works, check if everything is fine. And then you are in this kind of middle way where a lot of files have been modified, and then you either have to switch branches or stash your changes locally. So there are some kind of overhead some kind of actions that you need to take in order to, let's say, clean your machine so that you can try out the PR of your colleague, for example. There's a lot of good things that you can skip. You don't have to switch branches. You don't have to stash, because with dev environments, what you can do is to get this completely isolated of your local copy. So you are not, how can I say this? You don't have to worry about impacting your local machine with changes from other team member at all, because we will see that later on, but it's in a Docker volume, so it's outside of your local scope. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe you can summarize this by saying that creating your local dev environment, it requires time, because we're always we're always talking about time, because we was doing this even 30 years ago. We are trying to solve a problem to save some time. Maybe it's not just time, but maybe also some headaches, maybe, and because so we can focus on what we really want, which is develop maybe with some music in our earphones and something like that. So this would be the ideal thing. So yeah, tell me if you would like to share your screen, if you feel ready. Would you like to add something? And please tell me and us what are we going to do today. And by the way, good luck, of course.
Yeah, thank you. I think we're very good to get started. I'm going to share the screen and see pretty much one of the stories that I had when I try to try out new technologies in the .NET space. Okay, so let's share the screen.
Please share your screen. Yes, if you have any questions, just drop them. So what are we doing today? I don't know if you need to, maybe if you can make this a little bit bigger, it will be better, I think. This is the problem with live stream. So if you forget about that, it's okay. But let's move it like this or like this. I don't know. Let's try like this. Let's try. I can also switch sometimes. Okay. Okay, so we are on the official documentation. I know this page pretty well, I can say.
You have already tried.
Yeah, I know this pretty well. So, this is a feature. This is Docker Desktop, right? Right.
Yeah, this is a feature that is available in Docker Desktop since version 3.6. So if you are already quite up to date, then I'm sure that you can see this tab on the left. It says Dev Environments Preview.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. Nice. Okay, so please give us an idea. Also, tell me if you want to use some links then later. And yes, yeah. But
so I have been as a .NET developer at the very beginning of my career, and although I'm not using .NET that much anymore, and coding now in Golang, I still find very interesting to try out new technology and try new things. So I came across one tweet from David Fowler about ASP.NET Core, minimal APIs, which is quite a nice thing. And I wanted to give it a try. So, of course, the first thing I do when I want to try something in GitHub is to clone the repo. That's something we all do, and go into the terminal and type git clone, and we clone it.
Yeah, and of course, this is not a Git or GitHub course, but if you can't follow something, we can also stop and explain what we are doing. We are basically cloning an existing repository on GitHub with the command git clone and the link of this repository. We will also put this in the description at the end. So we start by cloning this repository. Perfect.
Yeah, we start by cloning, and then we can see that we have in this folder, we have some of the files. Well, we have the files from the repo, and well, at this point, I want to run this code and see this new API. And of course, what I could do is to run this .NET run command.
Maybe this is a command that you maybe have seen maybe in the README, or maybe you have seen in a tutorial. So let's say that this is the specific. We see an error, but maybe it's on purpose. So this is basically a command to run a .NET application. Now, you don't have to be a .NET developer to follow along, but let's pretend that you have this command. It can be like the Node one or the Java.
Yeah, exactly. If this was a JavaScript project, then you would have npm. You could do npm run. So it's similar. So the concept here is we have some source code. We want to run it, and then we realize that we are missing a dependency. Let's say we don't have this .NET Core 6 installed in in my laptop. So if I run the .NET list runtimes or .NET list SDKs, so I'm quite behind. So I have not been playing around with .NET for quite a while, and I'm behind.
And for example, and now let's say before dev environments, what I can do? Okay, so I would go on the Google and say, okay, how to install .NET version 6.0. But for example, let's make a personal example. I've worked a bit with Unity 3D, which is not like some .NET application, but it uses C#. So, and sometimes they are below, they are ahead. I've used, I think it was the 4.0 to have some different features. So let's say that maybe I want to test this project because it's of one of my friends, but I don't want to break all my environment just to make a test of a repository. And I can see that on Unity it can also be kind of problematic to set the correct .NET SDK, .NET SDK. So and maybe I don't want to break it. So probably at this point, I would just have removed the repository and just doing something else and say, no, sorry, okay, I can test it. This is honestly what I will do if that's just a test. If I have to develop in this area, probably I will install that. I don't even know, for example, since I'm not a .NET developer, if I can switch between SDK. I know that I can do that with Node, and with Python you will have some problems. I don't even know because I'm not a .NET developer. So we are talking about something which can help if you're not an expert. If you're an expert, probably you don't need anything.
Of course, if you are already developing projects in .NET 6, then of course you will have the runtime and the SDK installed. But the problem here comes when you want to try out something new that you don't have installed in your local computer.
Yeah, just let me say the last thing. Let's think about the opposite. This project needs .NET 5, and I have maybe the last beta version of .NET because I am a .NET developer who wants to try the latest versions. So now I have the opposite problem. I have the latest version installed, and I need maybe an older version. For some reason, I want to be sure I'm sure 100% if that's compatible, for example. So what should I do? Uninstall everything and install this exactly version. So, okay. So I think you got the idea. Okay, please go.
Yeah, you're right. The same problem would apply there. Okay, so what I decided to do here is, instead of going into the official website of Microsoft and download the .NET Core 6, I wanted to try and see how this would work with Docker dev environments. How could I run this project without installing the .NET Core 6 SDK in my local computer? So what I did was just to fork this project.
Which sounds like magic, but black magic. But let's see.
It's good magic. So we forked the project, and if you can tell the difference here between both of them, I have one folder called .docker, and this is the folder that we use to configure what dependencies we want to include in the dev environment. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
And this folder contains a couple of files, which is just a very simple JSON file that tell us what is the Docker file which we want to build the dev environment from. And then we can see in this Docker file that we are using the official Microsoft.NET SDK image to get the .NET CLI, the runtime, and the SDK. Everything is shipped within this image.
Perfect. Now let me play the devil's advocate role here. I am the developer advocate, but also let me play the devil's advocate. Where is the CMD command here, or where is the copy command? Because usually when you stare at a Docker file, you say, okay, where is the Dockerization of the image? So please explain me what's going on here. This could be something that when you check something like that. I see that the file is called dockerfile.devm, but you can name your Docker file whatever you want.
Exactly. You can use whatever name you want as long as it's exactly the same as the one that you specified here. Of course, we need to reference it by the correct name. But one very important thing to note is that if we have a look at the project itself, it doesn't have a Docker file to build this locally. So this is very important. We are using a project that doesn't have a Docker file per se to build and run this as a container. We are using a Docker file to customize the dev environment. Okay.
Exactly. So we have not. So this project is not. We will not. We don't have. We still don't have an image of this project. We should create a Docker file as you usually do. Of course, if you want a very small introduction, because it's getting late here. Otherwise, I'll keep Felipe for hours. But if I would like to know if it's super clear, if you have any questions about this. So this Docker file .env is something specific for the dev environment, right?
Exactly. That's for the dev environment. So what we can do now with this setup is to copy the repo URL and go into Docker Desktop. And in this left menu item called dev environments, and we can create one from this Git URL. So we're going to click on Get Started and type the Git repo URL. You can see it's just simple URL there. And then we're going to press continue.
Yeah, and I see there Git repository. So maybe this works also with other remote repositories, or not?
With Git repos. Git repos coming from GitHub, from GitLab, from Azure DevOps, from Visual Studio Team Services, the old ones. So at the moment, we're giving support to all of those.
Okay, and of course, this is not a Git and GitHub crash course, but they are not the same. So Git is better because the Git is more universal. GitHub is just an interface of Git. So I liked that a lot. This is specific. I remember that I was doing a Git repository on a pen drive with my friends some years ago. It was for the Unity project. Because it had some privacy concerns, so let's put the Git repository on a pen drive. Nice. Guillaume says you can also use directly on Docker image instead of Docker file to define your events.
Yeah, that's correct. Guillaume is a colleague of mine. He's been working on the events.
So should have brought him too on the live stream next time. Next time, William.
Next time. Yeah, and he's totally right. We have two options to define our dev environment, which is specifying a Docker file or using an image. So, for example, we can have a look at this later on, but it could be something like image, and then you can use here your own my image latest, for example, and then you don't have to specify a Docker file. Okay. This is something very good to reuse existing devs. So if in your team you can have one image for one Go dev environment, another for .NET, another for JavaScript, whatever.
Okay, perfect. So I can't do both. I think you should define either a Docker file or an image, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
But for this scenario, we're gonna just have a look at the Docker file example. So if we get back to this, then we can see that we have the dev environment has cloned all the source code into a Docker volume. It has also started building the Docker file that we have specified. And we can press continue and open in Visual Studio Code.
I remember that as if I got that, is building the Docker file of the dev environment and not building the image of the application, right?
Exactly.
I keep repeating this because this is important, otherwise we get lost. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for the reminder. So what's happening now is we are using Visual Studio Code to connect to the container. And you can see on the left menu, it says opening remote. Which is taking a bit longer.
Because we are on a live stream, so it can take a while. I know this because I've also, when I push something during a live stream, I can get some connection issues. So maybe you are never done this. I see that you don't have the Docker extension on VS Code, for example. It's a bit strange.
Yeah.
You don't need that.
No, at the moment, when we create a dev environment, we don't have the extensions that we usually have. That's something that is still in a feature preview. And of course, all these things, if people are interested, we can, of course, work on that direction and get them inside the dev environment as well.
Perfect. Can you make maybe the font a little bit bigger? So
sure.
For the audience. Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Is it better? Yeah.
Maybe even one less, but it's okay. Also like
One
that.
less?
Okay. Yeah. Like
Okay,
that. Try like that. Maybe. Okay. So maybe this is bigger. Nice. You can click the hide on your share screen, which you can. Okay. Just hide. Yeah. Perfect.
So,
hey Julie, how's it going? How are you? Glad to
hi,
be
Julie.
here. Well, once I'll invite you, of course. Notice that the Docker desktop is DD, okay, can create the environment much more quickly than if I do this using VS Code or remote control container extension. Is that expected that they are both building in volumes? I don't know because I haven't tried. I don't know if you have an answer for this.
Well, to be honest, we're using this remote container extension behind the scenes. That's a prerequisite if you have to use Docker dev environment. So let's say that the technology that is used behind is exactly the same. So
I don't know. Maybe it depends on the application that you use. Maybe I use the for a smaller application. It's faster. Maybe. Thank you, Julie. Okay. Okay. So this is something which should sound familiar. I think we are in our IDE, and yes.
Yeah, I don't know if people can see it because maybe our images are much better. Thank you. Yeah, I was pointing to this left bottom corner, the green one, where it says editing on container. This is very important because right now we have our local Visual Studio instance connected to a container. So we are not editing files in our local file system as such, but editing the files that have been cloned in a Docker volume. So if we go to volumes, we can see here in data, these are the files that you are seeing on the Visual Studio Code instance. And these are isolated, completely isolated from your CSRC folder where you usually do the development.
Okay, so let's see if I got that right. So this volume is not a volume that you can use in your application to store your data, but this is the volume to store your development environment.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. For example, what I have done here before in the terminal, I did a clone, and that is in this path: users, Felipe Cruz, source. Yes. But the code that we see in the volume is not exactly in that path. So it's isolated. So we are not mixing these locations. So let's continue. If we open a terminal, Visual Studio Code, we are opening a terminal against the container. So if we run .NET list SDKs, list runtimes,
and maybe we can spend some seconds here because if you have been following, maybe you would expected the same result as before. Maybe if you are following and you are maybe more familiar with Docker, we can say, or maybe if you do a Docker exec inside the container, you can see maybe a different version of Node or .NET. But we haven't done any Docker exec here. But maybe I've noticed something. If you go back, that VS Code at 0D8700, that's not our local environment. So I guess that this C0D8 is the ID of the container, because usually, for example, is what you have when you do a Docker exec. You have the root. Usually you have root and not VS Code. So maybe we can also check the Docker file.env later, because that looks like a user. Like when you do an SSH. If you need any explanation, just write here. See, Gulam, we have any questions? Some question? Yes. It's great. I love, for example, when some people in chat are helping other people in chat. You are really making my life easier. Yeah, can I stop you? Sorry, just 2 minutes. Because you have a direct access to the VM with Docker. Desktop and VS Code remote doesn't. Okay. Perfect. Nice. I should hire you. Okay, sorry. All that files that are shown in VS Code just now are inside in the running Docker container? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got that right. The code is inside.
Exactly.
I like this.
I mean,
the code is
it's
inside the volume in the Docker desktop VM.
it's very easy to see, because if we go into the other view, into the containers view, and we click on here CLI, we are running a Docker exec, as you can see here, with the container ID, and inside we can go into this com Docker dev environments. One second, let me use the bash cd com. See, so we have mounted the Docker volume into this path. So all the repo files are inside this directory. So that's correct, Jesus. We have all these files inside the container, which are mapped into the volume.
Yeah, you're just asking maybe working with a different base image. So yeah, I think yes. Smaller, the one specified on Docker file. Okay, so is this ID the ID of the run of this? If you do Docker PS Docker PS -a now, we should have this container.
Yeah, we can compare.
So this is not the container of the application. Sorry, but I repeat that. But is the container to make the development, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's correct.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so at this point, we already have the tools to build and run this project. So we're gonna use the .NET Run and specify the project to do API / to do API CS project. So we are targeting this file to run the project. So if you remember, just going back to the terminal, when we tried to run the same command before, because we didn't have the dependency, then we couldn't build and run this project.
And it says building. Usually the first demo that you make in a live stream fails. Let's see if it's also the same for you, because this has been for me. When I did my very first webinar about Docker, it was about 1 year ago, it failed on a Hello World on an Express application. I almost panicked, but let's see. You can be more lucky.
Yeah, of course it failed, but this is unexpected failure, because to run this API, we need first to generate some self-signed certificates with the .NET CLI. So
okay, but at least here is the same. So if you read the errors, which could not be for granted, could also be not read the errors, but do that. Yeah. So let's try to follow what .NET is telling us.
Yeah, so exactly. I have just now generated the self-signed certificates, and I'm going to rerun the previous command. Okay.
Nice. Is this something that you have to do just once? I think. I don't know about this .NET Dev.
Yeah, for the certificate, yes. Yeah, that's something. Something very interesting.
We'll collaborate next year. We are too late for do this year. Sorry. Enjoy your holidays. Collaborate next year. Okay. Sorry. Oh,
cool. So
nice.
One interesting thing that is happening here is, as soon as we have run the command, Visual Studio Code has detected that we are exposing this localhost 5000 port, so we can open it in the browser, and we will see the Swagger UI, which is a way to nicely see all the API endpoints.
Yeah, Swagger is an interesting library to test the API, maybe even without. But usually I don't use Swagger UI. I just use Postman, let's say, to test the API. But maybe here it's a little bit better. I should do this more in my tutorials, because maybe it's a way to test your local API. And unsurprisingly, this is not the most advanced application in the world, of course, because we are focused on something else. But it's it's a to-do API with some basic CRUD operations. Nice.
Yeah. Well, then let's now move on into how we could improve collaboration using Docker Dev environments. So at this point, we have run this project easily with all the dependencies on it, but usually we have people collaborating constantly, opening pull requests, and this could be an example where you are working in a project, you have someone with a PR and ask you to try this thing on your local computer, and you don't want to stop what you are doing, you don't want to do a git stash or git checkout and move to another branch to clone this code and lose your changes. So what we are going to do now is to run this as a dev environment. And Docker Dev environment has a very nice thing where we can target this feature branch. So it's going to allow us to create an environment from this pull request. Okay? So we can go into the dev environments tab again. I'm going to just stop this one so that we focus on the other one.
Okay, so this looks very interesting. It looks like I don't know, like when you load like a save game, like you want to load at that point of the development process, right?
Exactly.
You're pointing at a specific commit, basically, or not? This is a branch.
This is a branch. We can target a branch. So we use the @ symbol to separate what is the Git URL with the name of the branch, which is feature/hello endpoint. Okay, so I repeat, this is the Git repo. We use the @ separator to specify the name of the branch. And then this is doing exactly the same as before. We're cloning exactly the code from this pull request into this Docker volume. And that's going to be faster because we don't have to build the dev environment because the Docker file was already built. Okay, so we should see just some messages about the caching when building the Docker file.
I have one question, but since we are running this Docker container locally for the development, some image has been created under the hood, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so if we do Docker images, we see something. Otherwise, it would be strange.
Yeah, Docker images. Well, probably.
Okay, so you have a lot of Docker images because, of course, usually I clean this up before the tutorial. But let's see if we have seen something new. Can you see
maybe
that?
we have.
Because maybe you had already built that. But if you don't have this, that would have been the first one. Okay. So for the next, sometimes I also forgot about that. Maybe for the next tutorials you can clean it up. I don't want to disturb your work, Docker. Of course, we have some questions. If you want, we can try to deck them. Can we try? Hey, Miguel Hanja Cruz Martinez. I don't think that you are relatives, right? You can see this Cruz. Hello, Francesco and Felipe. I know it's pretty common. It should be. Is it mandatory to have a config JSON file even if the name of the Docker file is Docker file instead of a custom name?
Yeah, exactly. We need to tell somehow what Docker file we need to target. So although we may assume that if we specify as a Docker file there, it's gonna be read automatically. It's not exactly how that works. So we still need to specify if it's a Docker file and which Docker file it is.
To be honest, I think this is okay because otherwise we can get confused with the default Docker file. So
yeah, exactly. If you don't specify a Docker directory here, then it's going to use one base image by default that we have. We contain some tooling, but it's not specifically targeted for that specific language.
Okay, but I think this has been okay because I think that the idea of having that default Docker file is to simplify the process of learning Docker. And I like that, because otherwise you should specify -f Docker file. People who are beginners, they can get lost, even in the Docker Compose. So I think it's nice. This also gives a standard, so people don't name Docker file or whatever they want. I like this idea. In this case, you are creating, let's say that you're using something which is advanced or maybe intermediate feature. So when you arrive at this point, you should already have an idea of what a Docker file is, what a Docker Compose is. So I agree with Docker to have to create. I mean, it's just a config to Json. It's not. It isn't even a .yaml file, which some people hate. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just strange. I don't know. Do you hate a .yaml file too?
Yeah, everyone. I think everyone does.
Everyone except me. I don't know. I like them. But, okay, so I'll just shut up. Otherwise, people will start to hate me.
It's not just YAML. It's the indentation of YAML. Okay. What is driving me nuts.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah. So if we remember, this is the new endpoint that has been added by one of our colleagues, and we want to test it out. So the same.
Yeah. This colleague is not the best developer. Has not worked much today. Let me say this. If this has done this today, this has not probably has done something else. Okay, joking. Let's go on.
Something. Yeah. So we need to run this again. So we have to generate certificates, I guess, again, because every time
that is different. I also see that the ID changed, so we are in a different environment, and of course the container ID is different.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to remove this one, so that you can see that we could even start this one.
Is that container just stopped? So I can also start over again, maybe after testing this. Cool.
Yes, exactly. This one is a stop, so we keep all the changes in that volume, so in the volume associated with that one. Okay. So if we run this project now, then we're gonna have.
We are still. Let's see. I see some questions here. I see people are interested, so at least they are not yelling at us. So this is already a good sign in a live stream. Interesting. So any changes done in that files won't be persisted. I don't know if this is true.
No, maybe it will be.
Not in the container, but in the volume. Otherwise, what are we doing? Are we removing everything we have been developing? It won't be that good for developing. So, of course, if I'm right, we are saving everything in the volume. We want persistency here, right? Otherwise, I don't know.
So, if we now jump into Swagger again,
Git is available inside the container, which is a nice point. Because maybe we have Git on our machine, but here we don't have. So, for example, we can even don't have Git on our machine to make it work. I don't know.
No, you need Git as a prerequisite because we're going to see
that because we're cloning the repository.
Yeah, but the thing is, for example, it's very, very easy. I'm going to show you that right now. Let me just finish off this part, and then I will jump into Guillaume's question. So now we can see that if we execute this endpoint, then we have a 200 OK with a hello response. Okay, and now imagine that I'm going to go into another endpoint, like the to-do ones, and try it out. And we see that this is taking like longer, so it seems to be something wrong, and then we have an error. So what we're going to do now is see how we are going to collaborate and fix something and share it with someone. In this case, you, Francesco. Okay, so I'm going to put a fix, and I'm going to ask you. I want to ask you to try this in your Docker desktop. Okay.
Now.
So yeah, you can start Docker desktop because I'll be with you very, very soon. So what we are going to do now is to fix this bug and use Git inside the container.
The only problem is that I have all the live streams on this desktop, but
no problem. I can do it for you then. No worries. It's okay.
No problem. I would have find that probably this a couple of years ago. Okay, so let's check here. Okay, so I have Docker desktop. not updated that on the latest version. So, okay. So, what should I do here?
No, let me finish. You can start running Docker desktop to get it started. And if you can share back.
Docker desktop is running here.
Okay, then it's fine. Perfect. Then let me push the fix and then.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you share my screen?
Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you.
This is totally improvised, but it's okay. I'll try to look calm, but that's okay. It's fun. I wanted to relax today, but
it's gonna be easy, Francesco. Okay.
If you say so, Philippe, I trust you. As you can see, I'm in your hands. No, I'm joking. I've tried this just a bit. Okay.
Yeah. So the error we had is about there is no table called to-dos because the database hasn't been initialized. So we're going to use database ensure created, and this is the line that is going to initialize this database in the container. So we're going to stop it and run it again. And we're going to verify that this is working, and then I'm going to push it to Git.
Okay. For me, as a non.NET developer, it's not clear what's happening under the hood if I write database dot ensure create. I think it's something like a synchronization between the model you define and the DB. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but that's something that is. I mean, this is just a silly example. So it's not something important. What we are doing here is trying to simulate how we are fixing a bug, and make someone to test it out afterwards. So if we now run the to-dos endpoint, make this request, we should get an empty array specifying that we don't have anything in the database. Okay, you can see here.
But this is correct because this means that the table exists.
Exactly. And now if we use the post method to create one and put the title hello everyone and run execute, this record should be inserted.
Yeah, can you put
the database
a little bit bigger, please?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so we see that the record has been created, and if we query again the database, then we get now one item back. So
this is perfect. Can I ask you which kind of the database are we using here?
Yeah, we're using the SQLite. So in this, you can see the dependency entity framework core SQLite. And as this is an example, this database is the one that you see in this tutus.db. So it's
okay.
It's in this
just one curiosity, just one question about the .NET itself. So is this SQLite like given by default the support SQLite, or have you created something specific?
No, this is a very lightweight database. Usually, yeah, for testing. So yeah, but in production environments, you could have SQL Server or any other.
Yeah, I have this an interesting question. Sorry to interrupt you, but it says, what about the Git credentials that are used inside of the container when it was done the Git push? Where does it come? This is a good question.
Yeah. So we have some kind of magic happening inside this Docker Devons functionality that is contacting the Git credential helper in your machine to retrieve the credential. So from this terminal, if we do git config -l and we grab by my name, then you can see username Felipe with my email, and the remote origin is already configured. So the credentials are coming from the host. What is happening here is that Docker Dev environment is smart enough to go and fetch those credentials and use them. So if I use the git add command, we're gonna, for example, come here and create a new branch like codefix database. Then we are going to commit these changes, fix for the DB error, and then we're going to push it. So all these operations are happening within this remote container. I don't have to go outside of the remote container for this.
So this is sort of a magic. I don't know if you're watching The Witcher, the new series on Netflix, but that's a kind of magic, something like that. Nice. Nice.
Yeah. And now at this point, we can tell anyone to try this out, creating new dev environment, or we can, instead of creating the environment as before, using the git URL add and the branch, what we can do is to share the environment as a Docker image. And this is specific to Docker dev environments. Okay, this is a feature that only comes from Docker dev environments, which is the share button. And this button.
Yeah, we can't share this on social media. We are talking about sharing the Docker environment, of course. Here, that was just just a joke, of course. Share, but it reminds. It also has a similar icon. So we are sharing this. So nice.
Exactly.
Cool.
So at the moment, we only support sharing images to Docker Hub. So in here, I need to put my Docker Hub ID and the name of the image, like .NET demo and some tag, latest, whatever. Okay.
But have you created that repository on Docker Hub or not?
No. This will create the repo for you. So as soon as I
enter a Docker Hub repo to share your code. So this creates also the repo.
Exactly. Yeah. Let me show you.
Love it. Because I always have to create the repository by hands. I don't know if there are some APIs. Maybe, of course, in this case there are.
Yeah. So if we search for .NET demo, you can see we don't have any repository created in Docker Hub. And when we run share, what we are doing in this is doing like a snapshot of the container file system and shipping that as a Docker image. So all the files that were inside the container are going to be committed and shipped as a Docker image and pushed into my Docker Hub repository. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. I was just nodding and checking.
This is the other way of sharing. You can of course use the Git URL to share your environment, but also using Docker images among the team members.
Nice.
Yeah. Of course, this takes a bit of time because it's doing a snapshot of everything inside the container. And of course, the more files that there are, the longer it's going to take, and so on. So,
yeah, I have a question which is related, but not 100%. But for example, when I create a new project, a tutorial about Docker, on Docker Hub, I create the repository by hand. So I click on Create Repository. So in this case, I don't have to create the repository, right?
No, but it's not something specific from Docker dev environments. I mean, if you try to push any image with Docker push, for example, it should create a repo if it's not already there. Okay, yeah.
I should double check this. I'm not sure 100%, but maybe I should check it. If it creates the repository automatically. I don't know. Maybe just because if the repository doesn't exist, I just create the repository by hand.
I think it's because of the live stream. Because last time I checked, it didn't.
Yeah.
Long.
That's normal. Can we share that link with some security to avoid to have public links shared where anyone who has the link could use it?
Yeah. Well, I think that Jesus, what he refers by link is the Docker image name. Exactly. Now we have it here. So this is the image, and there is nothing wrong at the moment with this image, because when we create this image, the repo is private. Okay. So if we refresh this list, you can see that says private. So even if you try, I mean, I invite you to try to do a Docker pull. This shouldn't work. It should ask you for authorization because it's private. So the image is private. So you cannot pull it even though you know this image name. Okay.
Do I have to create another private repository on my Docker account to use this?
No. This is just like a link that you can share with anyone, and as long as they have access to your repo, they will be able to pull the image. Of course, because we are in a demo, I'm gonna make it public, so everyone that has at the moment Docker desktop can run it easily.
Nice.
Even people that doesn't have .NET, they don't need it because .NET is already shipped in the container. So let's make it public. .NET demo.
Nice. I can also share it in the live stream if you allow me, of course.
Yeah, of course. Go for it.
Okay, but where is the link? How can I?
Yeah, let me send it by private chat.
You can share in the private chat. Can I share it on the public one? Do you have any bank account passwords in that? I hope not. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so nice.
So this has been shared, so we can copy this and share it with anyone at the moment because it's public, so anyone can pull it. So
nice.
Let's stop it.
If you're in the chat, you want to test it, of course, you can. That will be nice.
Okay. So I'm going to remove everything that we have. We are not going to have any dev environment at all. Let's clean everything up. Let's close.
Let's nuke everything. See that you've been deleting everything.
And then we're going to create a dev environment from that image. So you can see that now we don't select a Git repo, but we use this tab called existing dev environment. And here you need to put the Docker image that they have shared.
So that's the Docker image link, let's say. It's a link to our repository.
Exactly. And because this image has been built locally, I'm going to remove it from my local machine, just so you can see how long it takes to pull. Okay. Otherwise, this will be immediate, and we wouldn't see that we are pulling the image from the hub. Okay. That's why I have removed it.
I hope it will not take so too long because we are on the live stream. But sorry for not remembering you this. That when you try to pull and push stuff on a live stream, you can have some problems. It depends. I don't have a very bad connection, but it can happen. But in this case, you see that someone is good or not on doing live streams because there are some poses. So I have to say something funny, which usually I fail. But cool. I don't know. Have you already tried or just think this is
I don't
cool?
know if anyone have tried, but if they have, maybe they can also put it on Twitter and put a screenshot.
Yeah, or maybe he's saying that both of us, we are cool. Could also be everything. Is he cool? It can be everything. Nice.
Yeah, I know him. I know what he means. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. So yeah, you see in the logs it says pulling from my repo, .NET demo, and then everything is good, successful. Your dev is built and ready. So we are gonna press continue and open in Visual Studio Code.
So basically, you are simulating doing this from scratch. So this now could be someone else on your chair or on another PC, right? Because you have removed everything. Okay.
Exactly.
Nice. Perfect. So if you want to leave a like, if you want more videos like that, of course, support this DevOps channel, which I always hate that, for example, if someone does like some CSS stuff, it always looks super cool. Instead you're just writing on the command line, it's boring. So, but if you want to support, if you like DevOps stuff like us, I don't know, maybe you're I'm just bad at design, but this is what I like to do. I don't know. I like, to be honest, I always loved the idea of containers, which is basically a technology that you can use with all different technologies because we have so many languages, so many different technologies. When I stepped into Docker, I said, okay, so this is really nice. Okay, perfect.
Okay, so now we have this dev created, and we're gonna run it, just like before.
Where it
So
went? I think you are on another screen. No, no.
Can you see?
Okay.
Yeah. Then we're gonna run the project.
We're still waiting for the first bad comment. So for now, everything is going fine. Okay. I'm not complaining. .NET run, .NET project. Okay. Yeah, this command, for example, is not super clear to me, but maybe it's in the README, since I'm not a .NET developer.
Well, unfortunately, it's not. It's not in the README.
No. I mean, okay, but this should be, or maybe
exactly, it should be. Yeah, we're gonna.
Because I don't know what's going on here. Okay, .NET run. Okay.
Okay, so let's go back into Swagger and see.
So basically, you have taken a branch. You made some changes. You have shared this, but we have not created we haven't containerized the application yet.
Exactly. No, the application is not. It's the environment in which the application is running.
Yeah. Sorry for stressing this because maybe I think this is super important to understand what we are doing. And I also like the idea that you don't have the Docker file in this application because of course we are Docker fan. I hope so for you. But so we don't have two Docker files in the same folder. So now we have just the Docker file .env .devenv, Dockerfile.devenv file.
You can call it also just Dockerfile and name it Dockerfile here as well. Okay, this is just like the kind of convention that I like to distinguish.
I like this. I would not want to. No, there is no excuse to say I don't have my machine configured to run any type of project with this because it will be fast the way to work. Yes, so basically you have to work in this case. I'm sorry, but
sorry, Jesus. Okay, so now if we query the to-dos endpoint, then we shouldn't see any error about the database because we should have fixed that before.
Nice. So this also.
Yeah, so you can see that because the database is a DB file, which is the container, we also have the previous record that we inserted. Okay, this is not ideal, of course. When we are developing applications, databases are somewhere else, and we don't ship them with the code. But I think that this is pretty much something that is clear just for Docker dev environments.
Yeah. Jesus is a bit lazy. He wants more excuses to don't code, but I mean, come on. Guys, I hope that you're joking. Okay, so nice. I'm a bit disappointed because I wanted you to struggle more in this demo, Felipe, but it seems that you nailed this perfectly. So I'm happy for you. I'm a bit disappointed because I don't know why people like to see other people struggling in live streams. If everything goes well, I say, okay. I've noticed that when I do something wrong, the number of people, they increase. I don't know. I don't know why. People like to watch other people suffering. It's okay.
Yeah, so suffering. Yeah. Well, a couple of more things before finishing off the demo that I want to say is that what happens if you try to create a dev environment from any repo that is not configured? Okay, so for example, you, Francesco, we have a lot of repos. If we go, for example, to your GitHub account.
I like the thing that he knows my username. He remembers my username. So
it's very easy, man. Francesco XX. That's it.
Nice. This is nothing to do with something not suitable for work. I just wanted something with Francesco in the name. So I don't have that much fantasy. So I just added a couple of random letters. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is one of your repos, and it does not contain a .docker folder. So it's not configured to run as a dev environment. So let's see what happens if we create
let me say this is the only repository without a Docker file because this is a Next.js project. So this is the only repository without a Docker file in my GitHub, I think. I think I have some Unity projects, but I don't know if you can build it. Okay. I'll also apply.
Let's clean up this one.
Let's
create. Let's create one from your side, which is not configured from.
So you can also use this with different repositories on GitHub.
Exactly. There's any repo in GitHub, GitLab, Azure DevOps, Visual Studio Term Services is gonna work. And one thing that is happening now is this detecting main repo language. So because because you haven't specified how you want your dev environment to be built, we are analyzing which is the main repo language. So you can see here, JavaScript 96%, that's the top repo language.
This is the Next.js project. That's why we love to read the comments in Stack Overflow, love struggling. We are mean.
Totally. I agree. So I was saying that this is detected as JavaScript. So we have one image for JavaScript so that you don't have to ship the tools to develop JavaScript projects. So this is very interesting now. See this image name?
Docker dev environment, JavaScript stable -1. It's a bit small, but okay. Yeah, I read that.
So we have a bunch of curated images for some of the languages. Of course, not for every single language, but you can find users for Docker dev environments. Maybe we can put this in the channel.
Which one? Docker dev environments let me put this here.
And we can show all the 5 hits.
Those are images on Docker Hub, right?
Exactly. So these are a list of curated images that we use when you don't specify how you want your dev environment to be built. And this is based on the language detection automatically behind the scene. So if we see that Docker dev environment has detected your project as a JavaScript one, and then when we open it in Visual Studio Code, we're going to go through your README and let's see if we can build it and run it. Okay?
Let's see. I don't think that will be super easy because this is not a Hello World in JavaScript, but this is the Next.js project. So it has a lot of files inside that. I don't know if that's doable.
I hope so. Otherwise, we're going to have a lot of audience seeing how I struggle.
you will see. Yeah. So please keep liking this because it's impossible. You can't make your first live stream with a demo without struggling. Come on, let's try something hard.
Let's see. Where's the README here? Let's see, Francesco, if you have done your homework and you have specified the steps.
I try.
Okay. Running the project. Clone the repo. Okay. We can skip this one because Docker DevOps has already done it by us. We don't have to navigate. Install dependencies. Yeah. npm install. That sounds.
Some people skip that passage, the CD into the directory. And so yes.
Yeah. The thing is, we don't have to run it because if we have a look, if we do an ls, we already have all the files in here, so there's no need to jump into any directory.
Of course, let me say, this is not a procedure for the production, but this is the procedure for the development. So for the production, I use something else. This is for the production. This is, for example, why there is not a Docker file, because I deploy this with Vercel. So I don't use, but for example, for development, it could be used. Still, the Docker dev environment. Let's see. If it works with this one, it will be. Let's see. This should be. But this is the procedure. But does it read the README file?
No, this is something that we don't support right now, which is to run commands after that the repo has been cloned.
No, but I mean, why you were talking about the readme.md just to check if I did my homework? You say that?
No, I mean, I have checked this website. This is a website. So we go into the URL. This is a website. Imagine that I want to contribute to it. I want to create a pull request. I want to make some changes. Or fork it and create my own from yours. Okay, so I need to go into the README to see some instructions. Maybe I'm completely new to JavaScript and I really like the site and I want to do some operations. Okay, so I go to the README and see how I can get this up and running.
Nice. That's the website of my community on Discord. We have more than 1,000 people. So just a little bit of shameless plug. And yeah, if you want to join, you'll be more than welcome. Great challenging, Felipe. Let's see.
Let's see, man.
So yeah, Felipe is, I don't know if you have tested this before this live stream or you're testing this for the first time, but in both cases, I haven't made any change, but let's see.
I mean, I have only checked that this is a JavaScript project, and I trust that the image, the one for JavaScript, has the tooling, because I mean, of course, it's a JavaScript image. It must contain.
Yeah, but this is not console.log. It's a Nest.js project, which is a React framework. So it's a framework based. It's a framework based on the React framework, which is based on the JavaScript vanilla. So
okay, what?
Let's see.
I mean, we have Node version 16.6 in this image. We have, of course, npm. Because, 7 point. We have nvm, perhaps. Oh yeah, we have npm.
Okay. I think okay. So yes, yes, it's a bit. Yeah. It's okay. No, I see. I've seen just the M, and because the MV is on the other line, but it's okay.
Okay.
You can change. Maybe you can change. Yeah, just a little bit. Perfect.
Nice. This streaming is consuming too much resources. Wow.
This is not an easy project, so it is a hard test. I'd say. I don't know if this will be the right one, but let's see.
No problem. In the meantime, I can show you. I mean, some of the you can see here, and this is public, some of the layers from this image, and see what things are installed in the image, and things like that. So it's based on a
How can we convince to make a Twitter space on the official Docker account about Docker dev environments? Philippe, help me. They don't listen to me.
We just need to check harder, I guess.
Should we or not?
Yeah, I'm up for it.
Yeah. See, help me.
Okay, so this is now installed, and let's run npm run dev. Finger crossed.
Let's see.
Okay, ready. Start the server on localhost 3000. Let's open it.
Oh, it's loading. It's loading. And of course, here this is not not a super simple project. Everyone knows what happens when you do npm install. We take a break at work, I think. Right. Have you ever tried to because I work with JavaScript, and of course sometimes I leave some node modules on my phone. I removed only the projects that I did in 2020. It was like 6 million files, 6 millions of files.
Wow.
It took me like hours to remove, even on an SSD.
Did you check that?
Right. Right. Got that. Nice. This is nice. This is why you should. But in which languages do you code usually? Code
in Golang. It's pretty much what we use at Docker for backend.
I need an excuse to come back to go to the Go language because I like that. I need to make some tutorials out of that, some CRUD API connected with. Maybe we can talk later. It's because I like to work with different languages, doing a CRUD API connected with a PostgreSDB, for example. This is one of my favorite kind of live streams. I've done this with JavaScript, TypeScript, Django, Flask, Java Spring Boot with Postgres, Mongo. I like this part. Okay, so here is taking a while. Let's see if in a while I can do.
I think we are close. It's now compiling.
Sometimes it's cool to be able to share the context of the application and the state of the database to reproduce bugs.
Yeah, that's
which bugs? We never have bugs. Which bugs? I don't know what you're talking about. We are pro developers. We never have bugs.
From time to time, we cannot lie.
Sometimes we have to, just to make some practice, we put some bugs on purpose on our code. This is just what senior developers they do. They never have bugs. They have features. Okay.
Yeah, but that's right. Sometimes you just have some problem with a database that you just do a dump, and then you want someone to check it out, and you can put this database also inside the container. But yeah, just bear in mind about the size. Bugs free. Yeah.
I just want to inform you that after this live stream, I'll be on holiday until the 26th of December. So I'm waiting for the end of this live stream so I can relax and focus everything. But since Felipe is super funny, I would like to see him fail in some ways, just to make this a little bit more funny.
I think it's already failing in a sense.
Nice. And as you can see, someone joined now. Someone joined just now in the live stream. Yeah. So that's true.
It's failing because it's taking ages. Oh my god.
What's it doing? No. Yes. Maybe because I don't know. Because maybe it's recompiling. I don't know. Features.
I don't know if anyone can try this out in the meantime, but yeah, apparently
maybe we failed. I don't know. No, I can say something. Let's wait a couple of minutes. Let's try to have faith. But this can be related to the fact that this can be like it's rebuilding the stuff. It has some rebuilding tool inside that. So I don't know if that could be that. But let's try to wait a little bit more. And otherwise, we will surrender, and then we will. In that case, we have to be. We need to have faith. This is not a simple project, as I said. Next time.
Cool. Well, it has loaded.
Yeah.
Okay, so how can I change
as soon as this has been deployed, someone left the live stream. So this is the confirmation that these people they would say, okay, so he's done. So it's okay. Nice, amazing.
So now let's say, Francesco, that they want to contribute here. I want to fix some errors, some typo. So how can I don't know, change this word in the source code?
Okay, so do you have a log file or something to check where it's on? I think this depends on the application. So this is just the output of an Next.js while it's compiling, but this is not Felipe's fault, of course. This depends on the application, what it does. But this was the only thing. But I think it's because the first time that you do npm install on a Next.js project, it takes a while because it has a lot of dependencies. So I think it's totally fine. I think it also, it had to download a lot of stuff. So it's totally fine, I think. So easy. Yeah, perfect. Nice. So basically you recreated a Next.js development environment on your machine. So for example, this would have worked even if you don't have Node.js installed on your machine.
Yeah, exactly. I think I have it installed. Let me check. I think I have it there. But this is not the node that I'm using for running your application. Okay, this is
and which kind? Just one question. Which kind of node version are we using here? We don't know. We can do here. Right. There we go. There we go. Sorry. Okay, right.
So you can see we have this version 16.6.1 on the container, and on my laptop, I have 16.10. So nice. Different versions, and yeah.
Cool. Cool. So I
So
think the test has been
let,
passed.
yeah,
Has passed.
let's just make a final change. For example, if we change the text here
Mm-hmm.
and we save, then we should see
Let's see.
that it's compiling now and the text has changed. Okay, so we have this whole reloading as well working, so you can develop as you could do locally. Okay, so that
Nice. So we are also deploying this. All these changes are inside a volume connected with a container that we use to develop locally. Right.
Exactly. Yeah, but the volume can be inspected from Docker desktop as well.
I'm surprised to see how it's running npm run inside of the container and see the port forwarding for free. Yes, because here is forwarding the port to the external port.
Let me open this app. Then you see here in this tab, ports, it says one forwarded, and you can see that is
You can also add a port manually.
Yeah, if you want, yeah, you can put another port, and you need to attach it to some running process, of course.
Okay, so this has been done automatically because I've always using that port in the for the container.
It's just detected that we are running this on port 3000. So Visual Studio Code is picking that up and forwarding.
Nice. Boom, hot reloading inside of the container. Yes. This is nice.
I mean, the feeling is exactly the same, but of course we are missing extension. This is something that we don't, at the moment, we don't have implemented this part where we share the extensions from your local Visual Studio Code instance with the one in the container. But anyway, you still have the option to install extensions.
So you have just one question. So if we install, so we can still install an extension. Of course, we will lose the access when we remove the development environment. Right. This can be a disadvantage, but for example, this can also be an advantage. So for example, if I code in Python once per month, I can just use the extension JavaWest when I install the development environment instead of having, because usually I don't know, to talk by myself, we have some extensions that we use because we don't want to restore those again when we develop in that language. But for example, for some languages, because I also code with different languages, you can just, in that case, install. Maybe it would be nice to have, like a feature to install a set of extensions. I don't know if this is doable. I think you can install.
Yeah, not at the moment, but you can with these remote containers. There is another JSON file that you can customize.
Yeah, settings.json, something like that. It's called.
No, it's not settings.json. It's another one called devcontainers.json. Is devcontainers.json. Yeah, this is what we are using behind the scenes, okay? But at the moment, we are not passing extensions. Yeah, I say you can have this dev container JSON file and specify the extensions that you want to ship with your container.
Okay, for example, it will be nice to have them, but let's say that for now, in the worst case, you have to install the extensions every time.
Yeah. For example, if you use one extension very frequently and you want to ship it, let's say with this environment, then you will need to use this dev container.json instead. What we have at the moment is kind of a wrapper around this file, but we don't yet provide this way to specify the extensions. Okay, but if you can look into this dev container JSON file. I think this is what Julie was mentioning before, Julie Lerman, about this remote containers extension.
Nice. So, for example, once this is, in how much time do you think this will be done, the dev container.json? Will it be done? Is there a way? or it will remain like that?
I mean, it requires some kind of more work, obviously, because there are more fields to populate. If you think about it, with Docker DevEms, what we are doing is abstracting a lot of things that we take care of it. But at the same time, we miss, for example, the ability to provide extensions. Okay, but this is a feature preview, so there are a lot of things that we can still build. And now I'm going to take advantage of this to send you the link where people can put their ideas or they can fill their issues in our public repository. Okay, so things like this, if you guys
Nice.
are really interested, then we can also think about it and discuss it internally at Docker.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Nice.
Yeah, so this is the official public repo that we have.
Nice.
I'm gonna send it to you in the private chat. So you can share it with the rest of the people. Okay. So if any one of you has any ideas or any kind of feedback at all, issues, just please open one issue here.
Yeah, I think, for example, I think I'll use this feature for sure because during the sorry, let me share this before. I think this can be an interesting feature. Also, for example, if you do a live stream, so let's make an example. You're doing a live stream. There are some people in the audience, and during the live stream, you say like, okay, test this in your dev environment. So, for example, for now, what I do is just I share the link. I say, okay, you can pull the image, but that's already built. So you take maybe the final image of Docker Hub, you test it, okay. But if you want to make some changes, you can't. You have.
If you want to make some changes on that image, then you will need to start from that image and do the changes that you want. Of course, using that as the base image, or have your own from scratch.
Yeah. And I mean, for now, if you don't use Docker Dev environment, you can work locally, show what you do, then build an image, push the image on Docker Hub, and say, okay, so try this command, Docker run, I don't know. But for example, in this case, you have this. I have just one question, but is this just for a single application, so for a single container?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can also use Docker Compose but this is still work in progress. So there are things that need to be refined. And so let's try that example.
Because, for example, I have at least in a project a Docker Compose with two services, a Postgres container and an application. So in that case, can I use it, the Docker Dev environments or not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can see this, try running an example where we have a compose-based one, which is pretty close to what you are describing. This one, let's have a look at this repo. I'm going to send it also in the private chat. This repo contains 3 services. One is a backend, a database, and a proxy to serve the backend, okay? If we go into the Docker folder, surprise, what do we have here? We don't have a config.json, we don't have a Docker file, we have a compose file. Okay. And this compose file has these 3 services, as we have seen before. We are using MariaDB because for people that are using these M1 machines, MySQL doesn't provide yet an image for ARM. So we have this MariaDB and the proxy. And if we have a look at the backend, we are building this service using the development target. So this is what Docker Dev Environments is going to use to build the environment.
Okay, the target of the build. Okay.
The target, exactly.
So I think so you have a multi-stage build Docker file?
Exactly. Yeah.
Sorry, just asking because we can explain, of course. If you want, you can go on the folder.
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe we want to show, okay, where have you taken that target?
Exactly. Yeah,
There we go. As
target. So development will be the target. So in this way we have 1, 2, and 3 stages in this Dockerfile, and we are using this development target as the stage from which we want to create the dev environment from, which is the one from build. So we are getting, because this is a Go application, we are getting the Go dependencies, and we are on top of this image, we are installing Git. So when we create the dev environment, let's create it. Continue.
So is this mandatory? We have to install Git in this case, or just an example?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think this is just an example, to be honest.
Yeah. I don't think that we need to install Git. I don't know. I don't know I think the Golang.
I know. Wait. Hold on a second. It's because this is being built from this image.
Of course.
And this image doesn't contain Git. And if we want to, for example, do a Git commit, Git push, any Git operation in the dev environment, then we need to ship it.
Okay. Yeah, because usually, okay. So I don't know, for example, I'm thinking about if you have to do this also for another application, but I think in that case you have to check that specific technology or language that you are using. Okay. Because you use Git to use the environment. By the way, this build with target development is not something related just to dev environment, but this is something you can also do without that, right? Or just building a target. So
exactly, it's building a target. There is no more magic.
No, but I mean, this build the target is has been done earlier than dev environment, because I remember that.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is that we are using the target to tell from which stage we want to build the environment from.
Okay.
Nice. So now this is done, and you can see a lot of creating networking, compose, volumes, and the services, the DB, the backend, and the proxy. And then we have these now 3 containers that belong to the same dev environment, which means they belong to the same network as well, so they can reach each other. And then let's go into the backend container, which is the one that we are talking about here.
And the other two they were defined in the Docker Compose. The other two, the Compose, the Franklin DB. Sorry, I lost a bit.
It's okay.
The DB.
It is Docker Compose.
Okay, so the backend, okay, the DB, okay, and the proxy, okay.
Yeah, the DB, as you can see, there's nothing to build. We are just pulling the image,
of course,
MariaDB, and having some volumes. And for the proxy, we are using this build proxy, which goes into the proxy folder. We'll use this Docker file to build. So we are actually using.
So the context is that folder in the Docker file is called Docker file, so we don't have to define that in the Docker Compose. Okay.
Exactly.
From run, but that's basically just a proxy.
So
use this to organize a workshop for coding. It's so easy to set up. Thank you, Jesus. It's nice that we're doing something which is it's helpful for someone. Thank you so much for this session. Of course.
Thank you, Jesus, for joining.
Credits for Felipe. This has been an excuse to meet Felipe. So finally, I can talk with him and try to be a friend of them, friend of him. Nice. Okay. Nice. Yes.
Yeah. So this is the application, the main.go.
Nice.
So we can go into the CD backend folder where we have the main.go, and we can see if we have Go to build it. So we run Go version. We have 1.16.12. Where is this coming from? Well, it's coming from the Docker file. You see this version here. So the Golang, the Golang binary is in this image, which is used as the base image for the development target.
Nice.
Okay,
Nice.
and then I can do a go run main.go to run the Go application.
I don't know if you have Go installed on your machine, but this works also if you don't have Go installed.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, let's repeat the same process. I have Go installed because I'm developing in Go, and if I run the version, you can see that here says Go 1.6.17, and in the container I'm a bit behind. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Mm-hmm. So
I don't know what
I
is
have
that.
just.
Okay, it's an example. Okay.
Yeah, seems to be that is getting some data. Let's go to the README. That seems that it's getting data from this MariaDB database. Yeah, so after the application starts, go to localhost 8080 and run cool localhost. Yeah. So this is getting the data from the database.
Nice. Very, very nice. Okay, let me check here.
Yeah, so this is for applications that are composed of different services. So maybe Francesco, you can try this out in a follow-up video and get some application with a database as a dev environment.
I have many ideas. So are you done with the demo?
Yeah, I think this is what I wanted to share with you. Hope that you have enjoyed and learned something new.
I enjoyed it a lot. I have tested that, but not so much in depth. So this has been really clear to me. I have, yes, thank you. So just let me remember that this video has been possible because this company, Tiny Stacks, we are trying to reproduce also and work on the stages of development. So you can use different stages for development and production. So it's not something related to just the local development environment, but this is meant also to use this with in your team with different commits. Here is an example, but by the way, thank you for this demo, Felipe. No, I have this idea. I don't know if this is crazy or not, but I have this idea of creating I don't know if you know, I'm studying the Solidity language. Don't know if you ever heard that.
I have heard that it's related to Web3.
I'm trying to create. By the way, I have a talk about Solidity and Web3 in March, but I still have to study that because it's moving super fast. So so I would love to create a dev environment for Solidity development. I've never seen this example on the internet. So
me neither. Yeah. So maybe we are the first one.
Yeah, maybe we have a chance to. I don't want to be the first one, but I would like to make a very good one. So let me study during these holidays, maybe after Christmas, and then probably I'll come back at you. But I don't know if Docker provides a default Solidity image. I suggest you to step into that because that could be a very good move, to be honest. Yes. Just let me say, of course, congratulations, Felipe. Everyone that's named Felipe are the best. Felipe Lisboa.
Felipe Lisboa.
Wow. I want to be called the Francesco Rome. That would be awesome. Yes, so I'm trying to do this, but yeah, we have to study. I don't know if with the default ones because this is really a super interesting use case. Then because if you check any example with Solidity development, there is a kinda clunky procedure to get started. So this is where Docker really shines, and the container really shines. So you have to download some dependencies.
How difficult is it at the moment to get started with Solidity? Do you need to install a bunch of tools?
There are different ways to get started. You can even use an online IDE. But of course, for example, in online IDE, you don't have many stuff. You don't have some stuff. So usually a tutorial is they have an online part. You just use Solidity on IDE called the Remix IDE. So you don't even use VS Code. But then usually you step into your local environment and you code in VS Code. But to do that, you have to install some npm packages. You have to configure some stuff. So you have to do something. So after a while, you get used. But for example, to get started, it's a bit hard. So what I'm trying to do is to reproduce this dev environment locally, hopefully also with dev environments. So let's see. That would be amazing, to be honest. Will to be amazing. But I think also
Sounds like a challenge.
I think also for Docker itself, it would be amazing. By the way, a Solidity image exists on Docker Hub. So they have an image on Docker Hub, so you can also use that. It's called Sol C or something like that. So I'm super interested into that, and I'm studying
Ethereum Sol C. That's the one.
Exactly that one. So that's the base image. So maybe if I have never seen this example on the whole internet. So I don't know if we can be the first ones. So we can start with this one. Yeah, I know. But the problem is that I'm still studying. Also, I've deployed an example of cryptocurrency on a test net, of course, not on the official Ethereum blockchain. But yeah, that could be interesting. Let's create some Docker coins. What do you think? I think
that would have been crazy. I think
that Scott Johnston would approve this idea.
I'm sure Scott will be happy.
Yeah, no, but I'm studying. I'm trying to do this because I like this. This is the direction that I'm stepping into, because people think that I have abandoned Docker because I'm just studying Solidity, but for me it's just a new language, something new. But I still love all the containerization stuff, all that stuff. So nice. So this is what I'm studying because it's interesting. But thank you so much for this example. I'm sure that if we make an example like this, we will get way more people, because this is what people are talking about. It's like the new series on Netflix, but for developers. Like the Web3 is like it's like the Game of Thrones of developers.
Yeah, it's the only thing that I see on my Twitter feed.
Docker coins, I love it. Nice. No, still this idea. I'm joking. It's interesting because the problem is that working on this alone is hard because we have a lot of stuff to do. But for example, we can also collaborate on something. I'm already connected with many people trying to create something. But for example, jokes aside, Docker could create like a logic when you, for example, can earn some Docker coins. For example, using Docker Hub, or deploying some containers, or pulling or pushing some containers from Docker Hub. So it's it's almost a joke, but it's not a joke 100%, because this can have a value. This is what I think, but maybe I'm... So, yeah. Now, what is this? Let's get in touch and make it happen. Yeah, I know. We just need to collaborate on something. I'm studying. I think that now that we are in this live stream, at least me, you, and I don't pronounce his name. Guillaume. What?
Guillaume.
Yes.
Guillaume. Yeah, in French.
Guillaume.
Yeah.
Guillaume. Okay. So for us, I think the containerization part is clear. We have to work on the Web3 part and cryptocurrency and how to deploy. But you can also do this without containers. But I think I almost never seen this, because in the tutorial you don't see how to use Solidity with containers, because you start from scratch with npm, a node version, and something else. But I think that in the future, some tutorial will pop up about how to use containers with Solidity, and because it's always development, of course. It's just because Solidity is just at 0.8.11 version. So at some point we will have something which is fixed, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me thinking out loud, but it will be interesting. I'm sure that the containers can help in this process.
Yes, definitely worth checking at some point.
Nice. Okay.
Someone will do it. If we don't do it ourselves, someone will do.
Yeah. I really think like there is the coin with the Docker logo inside that. That would look super cool. I don't know you. Nice.
I'm gonna ask Santa for that.
Yeah. Okay. So I think this has been the longest live stream of the day. We are about 2 hours of live stream. So Felipe, nice. This is a nice start for you. I would like to see you more again. So I also stream on Twitch. So usually I do this on Twitch, to be honest, something like that. But I haven't had time to prepare, and also on Twitch is a bit different. So this time we made it this way. It's easier. But let's keep in touch. And yes, thank you for joining this stream. And
it's been a pleasure. Thank you for your time, for your effort.
Yeah, amazing, Felipe. Okay, let's keep in touch.
Yeah,
bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Let me end this poll. Just 1 second. Perfect.